All right, this is a comment from West New West. I passed 100 days last week. I don't miss it. My wife, who also drank, has cut back to almost nothing. What's most noticeable for me is that every relationship in my life is significantly better. My wife first, my family, my friends, my colleagues. I'm much calmer and much less likely to get out of emotional balance. And I have no problem being around people who are drinking. If they start getting drunk and stupid, I just excuse myself. But when I was drinking, I always felt like I had to stay and drink with them until we were all done, as if my stopping for the evening was somehow unsociable. To watch drunk people while you are sober is, for me, enough not to drink. I realized that I was also like that. Everyone drinks for a reason, and most of the time those reasons are not very positive. I think there's just something imperial about reaching that 100-day mark. It's about right after 100 days. I think most people have beaten the habit in terms of the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of the job is done. And you're not thinking about it anymore on a day-by-day basis. There's no more cravings, none to speak of anyway, and you're used to living as yourself, right? You're used to living as you feel now, right? You've got into that swing of things, right? And that for me is fantastic. And he also says that his wife has cut back to almost nothing. And I always say, if you can have someone on your side throughout this journey, especially in the beginning, I think, if you've got somebody on your side, if you've got somebody that's encouraging you to move along, it's one of the best things that you can have. But there's also the opposite effect. You become the inspiration for other people to stop. You encourage other people to get onto the same journey as you. The good influence on those around you, and that is, I think, one of the most beneficial, one of the most rewarding parts of this journey. And he goes on to say that every relationship in his life is significantly better. First his wife, then his family, then his friends, then his colleagues, and those nearest and dearest to you, they're all going to benefit from you once they know that you're serious about this. It just has a positive impact on everyone around you, not just on your relationships, but in showing what alcohol is. It's not just on how you relate to other people and how they relate back to you. It's showing how you have improved through its absence, right? And it's a tremendous lift that your life gets because you're no longer poisoning yourself, right? So I think it's only when it's gone, when the alcohol is gone from your life, that you start to understand the depth of the damage, how deep the damage was reaching, how far outside of yourself that the alcohol damage went. Now, even the next point, how much calmer this guy is, how much more balanced he feels emotionally, right? It's a common feeling. It's really surprising to some people just how emotionally unbalanced they were before or during their drinking years. I think it's difficult to see when you're inside this, when you're inside that journey. And the alcohol damage, it really takes a lot of time to seep in, physically, mentally, in your life. It's bit by bit. The whole habit of drinking is very precariously balanced, if you like. It's like a roller coaster, and it's not a fun roller coaster. It's not a fun one, no. And the intoxication, that's got rollover effects on everything that you do. Everything that you do. It affects all your thinking. It affects all your emotions, your moods. It affects everybody around you, all the people that you're in contact with gets affected by this. Think about any other drug user, right? If we were talking about a heroin user or a cocaine user or a methamphetamine user, even to a certain degree, the same thing can happen with a smoker, or whether they're smoking tobacco or they're smoking marijuana. It's still, you're affecting those people around you because of the way it changes you, right? And I think it especially affects those people who are closest to you. Like this guy was talking about his wife, his kids, his best friends. How could it not affect these people? But as I said, the alcohol effect is insidious. It takes a long time. You don't notice that slow descent because it's so slow. And then when you do stop drinking, you quickly start to, it takes a while before you can get fully in balance, right, with this, right? But you gradually start to work into that. You gradually at least start growing back into some kind of normality in your life, away from the alcohol. Normal, we can talk about alcohol being normal, and if you're drinking all the time, that's normal to you. We've said this before, you have to take not what's normal in society, but what is normal for you. And, unfortunately, it's normal in society for people to take drugs of some kind in order to solve problems, right? To self-medicate. So, anyway, 100 days into this, right? You can take this in terms of your lifetime ahead of you. You're only 100 days in this, but look how far you've come. Look at how many strides that you've been taking forwards since you unplugged yourself, not only from the habit, but from from all the thinking that was involved around that. That is gradually improving. And being around people who are drinking, when I was starting out, I found it very difficult in some aspects, mostly because I was feeling sorry for myself, right? And everyone goes through a certain amount of that. But I found it easy in so many other aspects. I was never going back to alcohol. I felt much better in myself. I knew my son was going to benefit in the long run, from having a dad who wasn't a drug user, right? I felt a lot better about myself because of the changes that I've made, all of these changes that are being wrought inside of you are because of the hard work that you're putting into yourself, right? And that's what pays dividends in the future. All that hard work that you're putting into it, all the effort that you're putting into changing things. That's the torch that you take with you, right? It's the torch that is going to shine a light on anything, on any struggle that you go through in the future. That is going to help you. It's going to shine a light on those things and say to yourself, well, look at what I did. Look at that struggle that I went through. Look at the doubt and the fear and the lack of self-confidence that I had myself starting out in that journey, and I overcame all of that, right? So he finishes off the comment as well with, he says that everyone drinks for a reason, and most of the time those reasons are not very positive, right? And yes, he's totally right about that. Those reasons change as we age, as the habit deepens within ourselves, within our brains, as the dependence grows. And one of the biggest realizations that I ever had after I stopped drinking alcohol was about the fun aspect of this, that there was never any fun in the drinking of the alcohol. That was a massive part of the delusion, right? I was just too deep inside of that delusion to see it, right? And it's only again, when you step outside of it, when you stop doing this to yourself and you go through that discomfort and you feel yourself in that frame of mind where you're having to face life now. And, it's not fun in the beginning, although I think you can still have fun in the beginning. But you soon realize, once you get used to yourself, once you get used to living that life, you soon realize that the fun was always being around other people. It was always about sharing time, sharing moments, sharing your energy with other people, sharing laughs and jokes and stories about whatever, just sharing happy times with people, Just being with people is enough sometimes, right? Sometimes just being with anybody is enough, even total strangers. One of my favorite things I really love to do is to sit in a crowded cafe in Spain, and here we can do it because of the weather. Not so much in Ireland, but maybe in Galway. But you sit in a place where you can have a coffee and whatever it is that you want to drink, and you can just watch people going by. You can listen to other people, you know. This was something we did in Ireland. I remember sat in one of the coffee shops. I can't remember the name of the coffee shop, but anyway, we were sat in this coffee shop, and it was just listening to people, right? And not listening to any particular conversation, right? Just listening to that hum and the chatter of life, right? Like I said, sitting on a boardwalk cafe, watching people go by, watching the world go by, just watching people. That is enough for me sometimes. And do you know what? Alcohol doesn't help you to do any of that. It takes you inside of yourself. Takes you more inside of yourself the more that you drink, right? And you're the only one who can ever feel the drunkenness of alcohol. And that's a sad part that drinkers never understand. They don't know that because they're in the middle of the drinking thing, you know. Until you've got an extended break from this poison, that you can see this, that you can have fun without alcohol. That's one of the problems with people who stop only for short periods of time. They say, I'm going to take a month off the alcohol, is because they're not allowing themselves to experience that. They're looking forward to the time when they can go back out and drink, and they don't separate themselves. So, they don't see that they can have fun, they can have a laugh, they can be merry without needing to half kill themselves in the process, right? So, there's many people like this man in this community, right, who've been there, who were once seriously plugged into the habit, and they've overcome it, right? So I really like to highlight conversations like this every so often, because I think it's important to, it's very easy at the beginning to get sucked into the discomfort of this, and it's very difficult sometimes to see outside of that box, to see further ahead, and to see where you can actually go in this life and what is waiting for you once you get past certain barriers. And normally the barriers are up here inside your head. So once you can get past those barriers, where you can actually go. So, if you want to get to where he is, 100 days plus, loving life, we are here to support you, right? We're here to support you to take those first steps towards unplugging from this loop, right? We've got a beginner's course still there, it's still free, right? It's still available. It's just click on the link in the description box below. I think you have to leave your name and email address, and I'll send it out to you straight away. You can start on the course straight away. It's only a short course, but it will give you enough of an idea about the mindsets, especially, and that's what it's all about. It's changing the thinking. It's, if you change your thinking enough, then you're going to change your actions, and you're going to change your life. So remember, keep the alcohol out of your mouth, one step at a time, and as always, onwards and upwards. Thanks for joining me today. Bye now.